Hey there, welcome to your Tuesday 2-minute tips. Everyone get your calculators out. Today we're going to talk about how much food you actually need to buy to prepare for Thanksgiving dinner. So this is by far the most common question I get. I used to have a catering company and I catered for lots of people all the time. And one of the most important parts of keeping the business going was figuring out how much do we buy to produce 100 servings. So I've done this quite a bit. And I'm going to share with you the caterer's way to do this, okay? So let's see. Here's my Thanksgiving menu. You can see everything I'm going to have. And I'm going to have 5 adults and 4 kids. 4 plus. The plus equals like a 2-year-old. So what I'm going to do is count 2 kids as 1 adult, which is still pretty generous. I'm going to end up with some leftovers from that. But basically, you can see all the different dishes that I'm going to have. And this is the finished amount of each dish that people will actually eat. Ignore the turkey for a second. But basically, gravy, people are only going to eat a 1/4 cup. I mean, if you need to visualize it, get your measuring cups out and look at it. People can't put that much food in their stomach at one time, even if you think you can eat, 19 servings of Thanksgiving. Truly, there's like a science to it. You can only put so much in your stomach at one given time. So for things like gravy and cranberry sauce, 1/4 cup max, and that's going to be plenty for leftovers too. Mashed potatoes, stuffing, think about those. They're big, they're heavy, around a 1/2 cup. That's about this much on your plate. So that's a really small portion of mashed potatoes if you were having grilled chicken and mashed potatoes. If that was all you were having, like a normal night, you would eat more mashed potatoes. But on Thanksgiving, you're also going to have Brussels sprouts. You're going to have green bean casserole. You might even have sweet potatoes. You probably had cheese and crackers while you were watching football. You probably had 3 beers first. So you're going to eat a smaller amount of potatoes, right? Okay, so 1/2 cup of stuffing. And then for Brussels sprouts, I did a 1/2 cup just because that's sort of how big round Brussels sprouts sit in the container. Now, it's helpful for me to start with these measurements that are visual. So like I said, you can pull out your measuring cup. You could even go and take raw Brussels sprouts and scoop out 1/2 cup and actually see visually how much that looks and figure out how much you would get on the plate. But when you go to find your recipes that you're going to cook, it's probably going to tell you by pounds, which is really confusing. So the next thing we're going to do is take the finished amount. Oh, sorry, that's over here. The finished amount. So I want 1/2 cup of mashed potatoes per person. And then I multiplied it. And I did actually just by 7 because I'm counting 2 of my kids equal 1 adult. So let's just say we have 7 adults. So I need a total of 3.5 cups of mashed potatoes. So how do you get that? So next thing I did was Google mashed potato recipes. I came up with 2 different recipes. This is really important. If you're looking up recipes that are in like part of a Thanksgiving collection, the serving size is almost always 8 to 10 or 10 to 12. Whereas a normal recipe at any other time of the year, if you're looking up a mashed potato recipe, you'll get typically serving 4 because most recipes in general are kind of written for 4. So you have to check that portion size at the top. So here's my little notes on this. I looked up the 2 mashed potato recipes. One of them had 4 servings and it called for 1.5 pounds of potatoes. And then the Thanksgiving one was 10 to 12 servings and it called for 5 pounds of potatoes. So when you then take the total number of servings, 1.5 pounds divided by the total of number of servings, 4, you're getting just over about 1/3 of a pound. And then the other one, you're getting 1/2 pound of potatoes. So you can see kind of the discrepancy. It's a really big difference in the number of potatoes, right? So what I would do here is go for the recipe that's closer to the total number of people that you'll be having. So in this year, it's a small year. I'm going to go, I'm going to go for the 4 servings of potatoes, but then I'm still going to notice that 1/3 of a pound of potatoes is going to be much more than 1/2 cup that I'm looking for. So I'm even going to go on the skimpy side of that. That's not going to seem like a lot. 1.5 pounds of russet potatoes is like maybe 4 potatoes, depending on how big they are. So when you're thinking about this whole menu, you have so many different components. You really want to keep it small. Okay. I went through that fast. It's still a little bit confusing. And I'm sure you could poke 1,000 holes in there because there's no perfect science to this. And you kind of have to take each dish one by one. But I've gone way over into 5 minutes. Join my Facebook group. It's Ends+Stems. Anybody can get in there. I'll post the link right below. And until, I don't know, for the next 2 weeks, post your specific questions or your specific recipe, and I'll be happy to weigh in on it and tell you how much you should cook. So join the Facebook group, Ends+Stems. Say bye. Happy Thanksgiving.
Bye.
Okay, see you in the Facebook group.